last month I turned 22. Now, I've never truly had a problem with my age. I've always been fine at the idea of getting older. But on the day that I turned 22 was the first time where I had this hyper awareness of my age and where I'm at and all of the different pieces and parts of my life. And I've been kind of going through a mini existential crisis. I know I'm an exaggerator. I'm a hyperbolic person. Okay, hyperbolic, hyperbolic, hyperbolic person. And I know I just have lots of things waving around my thoughts. And I don't know if it's my prefrontal cortex starting to like rev up a little bit. You know what it is? I just know it's driving me a little bit nuts. Okay. And again, I don't think it's an age thing. I think there's just loads of different things that I'm pondering, I'm thinking about, I'm talking about that keep me up at night, I'm reflecting about, and honestly spend way too much time considering and thinking and very little action. I think there are loads of different points and parts to it. I think number one, I'm a very risk averse person. And I've deep that about myself and I've come to, you know, accept it. I'm very, what is the safest, most logical route? But in reality, is that the best way to go about life? All the time thinking about what's the safest and most logical route? Like, and is it only the safest and most logical route because there's evidence and things to prove that this route has worked for other people similar to me or other people before? So that's why I see it or perceive it as the most logical route. But is it actually the best route for me? Because that's separate from something being logical. You can see we're having it. This is now you're having an internal dialogue into my brain, is what I'm thinking. And I kind of feel like turning 22 made me aware. I feel like I'm at the crossroads of destiny. You know, like that episode in Avatar: The Last Airbender where Zuko is standing and Uncle Iroh and the gang are there and he's staring at his sister and the past and the fact that he wants to return to his old life and be accepted by his father again. And he's looking, he's like, oh my God, I have these two different paths. I have these two different paths. I don't know what to feel like. Just what I feel like right now. I kind of feel like um I just don't really know what I'm doing. And I feel like I'm playing blind man's bluff with my life. And if you don't know what blind man's bluff is where you stand in like a massive room and you wrap a blindfold around your face, and then people are running around the room, and the whole point is for you as the blind man to try and like catch people without being able to see, but people always have to dodge you. It's kind of fun. It's really fun. Would recommend playing. But yeah, and I feel like I'm at this crossroads and I just don't really know what I'm doing. I feel like I feel the pull and the call. This sounds so like philosophical. I feel the pull and call to different paths. Like there's so many different paths that speak and call out to me. And I just don't know in what assurance I would get if I'm following the right one. And I don't know which ones are like false calls, like ones that just feel safe and comfortable and aren't actually things that I feel like will bring me full fulfillment. I also think that I'm also the type of person. See, this is what I'm saying. I've just made like over the course of these few weeks of turning 22, I've made so many important realizations of myself. I'm the type of person, I have a fucking podcast, okay? I'm the type of person that overthinks things to the point of inaction. I will sit here and debate about my existential crisis and journal and write and talk and just not do anything. Just sit in this like stupor and this like hangover of just thoughts and decisions and things to make. And so I've really been experiencing that at the moment. And one thing that I've truly been tackling, or basically again another realization I've come to in the past imagine all of this going through my brain in the past 3 fucking weeks, okay, is the lack of self-love that I have for myself. And obviously I've mentioned on this podcast before, but if you're new, I haven't even done an intro yet. Sorry, pause the conversation. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to this mini episode of the Female Genius podcast. If you are new here, this is the first episode you're watching. Welcome. I would say that Female Genius podcast is a place for your nerdiness to come to life. Is where we discuss challenges and topics and things that I personally find interesting. So somebody out there will find interesting too. And we look at them from different angles and different perspectives. It's fun, it's funny, and it's absolutely pure genius. Welcome, geniuses, to this episode, which I've entitled A Genius Guide to Self-Love.
Female genius.
So one of the things I've realized about myself is that I struggle with self-love. Okay. I don't think I like myself very much. In all honesty, I don't think a lot of people like themselves very much. And I completely understand why. I spend every single day with myself. my inner thoughts, my perceptions. I see myself all the time. I hear myself all the time. And I'm done. I'm tired. Like if I had like, those pills, like blue pill, red pill, not content, sorry. Like blue pill, red pill, we're in the matrix, right? And the blue pill is like $1 million and the red pill is like, spend a year not in your brain. I'd spend a year not in my brain. Probably not actually. I'd take the $1 million. I'm Nigerian at the end of the day. But anyway, I think I've just started to realize that a lot of the ways that I perceive myself and how I show up in the world is ultimately due to my very, very negative self perception of myself. And a lot of my validation or the things that I contingent on my self worth were completely based off of the things that I achieved that would seem very impressive to other people. I also recognize that I'm so self critical and absolutely horrible, and that my inner voice to myself, it's absolutely horrendous. And it was so it came to the point where it's so damaging to my mental health that I didn't even want to hear my brain speak. Like, and I think when I think about like in uni and when I would have really bad panic attacks and I started like drinking to like curb it, I think a large point of it was to just shut my brain up, not because of the panic, but because the negative voice had taken such a large root in my life and it was just so, so fucking loud. And so I've been a little bit obsessed. And I've kind of been on this quest of how do I improve my self worth? How do I improve self love? What are some of these scientifically proven ways in which I can help boost and improve this life? Because, like I've said before, your brain is plastic. Just because I perceive and have always lived my life with my brain thinking and believing, or having a very negative self perception of myself, or having that kind of inner dialogue and all of the way my brain sounds to me and interacting with myself, just because it has been that way doesn't mean it's always going to have to be that way. And I can take steps in order to improve and restructure my brain to majority of the time be more positive and loving and kind to myself. That's not to say that I feel like by nature I'm a very blunt person and I feel like I will be very hyper honest. And I'm not to say like, look, I will forever always be nice to myself. But the level of cruelty I've showed to myself, how can I start rewiring that to live a happy existence? And so I present to you a little bit of a deep dive in this mini episode, at least for the next 5 or so minutes, to some of the things that I found that are scientifically proven ways that potentially boost your self love, your self worth, and maybe that can be helpful towards some of you who are struggling with the same things I am, who are having these existential crises. So, one very important thing to set the precedent of today's lesson, get your pens and your papers out, kids, are some of the key brain regions that are involved in self-love, right? Or our self-perception to some degree. Remember, our brains are largely interlinked, so a lot of areas cross over, and we're still always studying the brain. First and foremost, you have your amygdala, which you probably heard before, and that is the region of your brain that largely, in the context we're talking about, governs this idea of fear and anxiety, right? It protects you. It encodes memories with emotional salience. Okay, it's not the most accurate player in the game. Your amygdala is an unreliable narrator, essentially, in the grander scheme of things, right? And then you have your ventromedial prefrontal cortex, right, which is linked to your amygdala. And your ventromedial prefrontal cortex governs emotional regulation, metacognition, which is this ability to be able to think about how you think, and all of these important things that basically make you somewhat of a level-headed being. And this was also closely linked to your anterior cingulate cortex, which kind of does similar things. It's all about emotional resilience, being able to perceive something, and also is largely involved in our understanding of self-perception. Okay, and these are some of the key brain areas that we are attempting to target with some of these interventions that I'm going to be describing now. So, there are loads of different neuroscientific studies, but one very, very important one that keeps coming up again and again is this idea of journaling. Now, journaling has wide range of uses. There are so many different ways to journal. You have gratitude journaling, there's bullet journaling, there's expressive writing journaling where you're just writing down your thoughts. Like there's so many different types of journaling that I think suits fine-tunedly to the different parts of your life that you are trying to target, right? But specifically expressive writing, which is basically where you take a blank piece of paper and you go ham, like you're just like do. You know that meme where it's like that person writing and there's flames popping up all about it's future, whatever that meme, and there's like displays like that's what you're doing, right? There are so many studies to prove how helpful and beneficial it is towards your self perception and your understanding of the way that you think. Because when you do expressive writing, you practice something called affect labeling. Affect labeling is basically the ability to identify your emotions and what your emotions are and where they come from. A very important aspect of metacognition. And this is so important because through doing expressive writing, there are loads of studies that show that this ends up decreasing activity in your amygdala. Again, your amygdala is the part of your brain that does fear and anxiety and makes you feel really panicky, right? And it upregulates and causes an increase in activity on a part of your brain called your dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. And by doing that, you improve basically your ability to identify your emotions, but also your ability to see and perceive different social contexts and memories more clearly, right? With less of a negative perception and more with a bird's eye view perception, right? And that's what you get over time if you do a lot of expressive writing. There are loads and loads and loads of studies about how gratitude practices, intentionally picking out pieces of your day to be grateful for, activates the prefrontal cortex, which largely helps with self acceptance by allowing you to see and perceive more positive things. I always talk about gratitude or the practice of doing gratitude in the context of if I ask you how many yellow cars you've seen today, you're going to be like, bro, who the hell would buy a yellow car? If the yellow car is in a Ferrari, why are we buying? Are there yellow Ferraris? Whatever. Um, if you why the hell am I like seeing a yellow car? However, because I've now put this thought of the yellow car in your head, you're now going to go outside and you're going to pay so much more attention to the yellow cars. So if you practice this idea of gratitude and say, okay, I have to name one positive thing about myself every single day, one thing that I'm like, yeah, Jesse, you slayed. You did so well. Well done. In fact, Jesse, you look so amazing. That lip combo, gorgeous. Jesse, you worked your ass off in the gym today. You're killing it, right? If you start to do this, then over time, your brain is going to start reorienting yourself to see or perceive more positive things about yourself, to perceive or be on the lookout for all those things that you could be grateful for and love about yourself if you start to do regular gratitude practices.
Female genius.
There are other scientific research gone into this practice of meditation. And what's the thing about meditation? I think everything I've said in the past recent weeks has all been Avatar The Last Airbender related. I'm sorry, I'll try and find other nerdy references across the whole series in order to feel connected to the spirit world, connected to themselves, or gain a greater understanding and clarity over a difficult situation. We perceive our avatars or any characters in general meditating, connecting, going deeper into the thoughts, emptying their brain and allowing themselves to perceive and feel the world or understand the world in different contexts. Now, there are various different types of meditations, and I'm not going to claim to be a meditation expert. I don't know that much, okay? However, there's one meditation practice that kept coming up in my research for self-love for myself and also for this episode, which is loving kindness meditation, which is a specific type of meditation I think was designed at a university by a professor studying self-love. I will link it down below. And it's just different things that you kind of mutter to yourself like as a mantra as you meditate. So after you've done your body scan, you've cleared your mind, you're sitting there, you mutter and repeat certain statements that are loving and kind towards yourself. I love myself. I love the fact that my body moves. I love all of those kind of things. And then after you do that love to yourself, you then extend it out to your friends and family, as in this practice of moving love around in this almost spiritual sense. And there are so many research and so much evidence that basically proves how helpful this loving kindness meditation was towards removing negative bias and altering our perceptions and our self-perceptions to be more positive when we do this kind of meditation. Now, I'm not a meditation expert. I'm trying to build my meditation practice, but my ADHD hates me for it. I just don't think I can, like, I really struggle to sit silent. Like, my brain is like, like, you know what I mean? But I have seen improvements, and there are so many benefits to meditation across the board beyond just self acceptance, self perception, and self love. There's benefits in terms of dopamine regulation, clarity, attention, focus, all of these types of things. So, meditation and journaling, beyond just self love, are practices that I think everybody should embed to some degree in your life. Whereas with journaling, maybe once a week, just sitting down and allowing yourself, hey, I'm going to 20 minutes, put on the timer. I'm just going to write whatever comes to your brain and then trying to see if you can pick up pieces of evidence. Whereas, okay, every single day I'm going to come into the mirror and I'm going to say one thing that I am grateful for about myself and one thing I'm grateful for about the world. right? And you're just going to do that every day. It doesn't have to be this big fancy practice. I think social media has kind of given us this perception that you need the perfect Leuchtturm journal and you have these perfect, beautiful setups and you light the candle and then, it's flickering and the classical music is going and having all of these very extreme practices. But to be honest, a practice is ineffective. If you cannot maintain a habit or a practice and you're always struggling to come back to this journaling or come back to meditation or come back to a gratitude practice, then it's not going to help you cultivate self-love. In fact, it probably will cause you to perceive yourself more negatively because you're like, for what reason am I not locking into this habit? And then I think sometimes we have this overemphasis on discipline. You have to do this because it's good for you. And if you don't have the right discipline, you don't have the drive to succeed. And I do think discipline has its place. But when you're trying to build habits for yourself and the way you love and perceive yourself and the way you show up for yourself, then why not make it as easy for yourself as possible? You know, if you know you're going to struggle to sit there for 20 minutes, don't do a 20-minute meditation. Do a 5-minute meditation. If you understand that, look, I can't remember the last time I picked up a pen. I can't sit down and write anything. Get an app on your phone that causes you to track your emotions and then write gratitude on your phone. That is a valid enough practice and that will have similar effects in terms of the neuroplasticity and restructuring your brain for self-love. Pick habits or construct habits for yourself that are easy to implement in your life. Habit 101, okay? If you look after your body and you treat your body well, this is going to have a very, very amazing effect on your mind. They're inextricably linked, your mind and your mind, body, soul, if you want to go there. So for your soul, and for your mind, you do things like journaling and meditation and gratitude. But for your body, you got to lock in, okay? Right? You got to work. Things like exercise, I don't even need to tell you that exercise is good for you, but it is. It is so good for your mood. It's so good for your perception. But another thing that exercise is really good is giving you a sense of accomplishment. Your idea of self-worth and your idea of loving yourself increases when you're able to accomplish things that you have set out for yourself to do. If you tell yourself, I want to go to the gym 4 times a week, and you go to the gym 4 times a week, you're going to have a much more positive self-perception of yourself. I don't know about you, but I'm one of those body dysmorphia girlies. I do not like my body that much. I have never been particularly fond of it. I am one of those girls that have said, I've always thought I was fat. Like, there's not one time period of my life that I didn't think I was fat. So I just have such struggle with body image. But I noticed that my perception of my body greatly improves if I'm just showing up in the gym. If I'm eating good and I'm lifting heavy, right? I'm doing my 10K steps a day. Nobody can chat to me about my body, not even myself. Because I'm like, well, realistically, I'm eating really well, eating my fruit and veg, drinking enough water, minimizing junk food. My bank account's thanking me because I'm not ordering out that much. I'm going to the gym 4 to 5 times a week and putting in a sweat. I'm putting in a shift. My endorphins are high. I feel great. What do you want me to do? My body is gonna be how it is if I'm treating it well. Like, I have this perception if I'm doing everything right by my body and this is how my body looks, so be it. You know, like, that's actually like, at this point, I need surgical intervention. I don't have the bank account to do it. So I'm just gonna have to accept it for how it is. So be it. And so I noticed how much exercise improves that self-perception part of myself and also makes me feel like, yeah, like, damn, I can do that. I know that some people struggle with exercise, and I was one of those people that showing up to the gym to me was a chore. Now I've got a boxing class this evening. I went to the gym yesterday. I feel great. Um, I just find something that you enjoy. Go with a friend. I used to do dance workouts all the time at home, running, start a challenge. And I promise you, there's this switch. I know everybody says this. There is this switch where it comes from, I'm doing this to look nice, to I'm doing this because it makes me feel good. Because when you go to the gym for a consistent period of time, all of those endorphins running through your body, the serotonin, you feel great, you feel accomplished, dopamine is giving you a high five in your brain, you feel great. And then you go 2 weeks without doing it, your mood will drop and you will feel it. And you'll begin to notice, actually, this exercise has been good for regulating and stabilizing my emotion. It's so important. I will always encourage exercise, and there is scientific exercise. There's scientific proof that exercise is so important for your self-love. So, guys, this was a quick tour on some of the things that I have found and I'm trying to implement in my life in terms of self-love to improve and work on that very small part of my existential crisis. But honestly, this existential crisis, should I do like an episode a week? All of the mini episodes until like I finish. trying to tackle a different part of my existential crisis. Another part of my existential crisis, if you're curious, is that again, I think this links to me being so risk averse. And like I just don't think I've gone through important canon events when it comes to my emotional development and maturity. I don't think I'm very emotionally mature. I think I'm very, very self-aware. And I think because I'm very, very self-aware and I am a big overthinker, I intellectualize a lot of emotions and I'm very observant. Can't see for shit, but I'm always clocking people's patterns of behavior and internalizing it. Now, this probably comes from some sense of anxiousness where I feel like I need to always be monitoring people's behaviors and whatnot. But I think that also has made me quite more emotionally aware than the average person of my age because I'm able to see, oh, that person, they like went silent after I had said this. So something about what I said might have affected the way they perceived. Blah 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 blah. Terrible for my anxiety, but it's helpful in some ways. I can read people really well. Um, and so, but I don't think I've gone through very important things that, like canon events, guys. I haven't been through key canon events, and I feel like at some point my multiverse and my universe is gonna start unraveling. The Spider Verse is gonna start unraveling. If I'm saying this in nerd speak, okay. For example, my little cousin's going through a lot of boy troubles at the moment, okay, and she's telling me, and she was like, "Do you have any advice? Do you have any situations?" And I'm like, "I feel." You're going through this. When I was your age, I wasn't going through this. When I was your age, I was thinking like, damn, how the hell am I going to do well enough in my A level so I can go to the best uni possible? Like people were trying to get a text back from a boy. I was doing Excel spreadsheets, looking at different courses, their grade requirements, and the potential pathways they could take me, right? When people were thinking about, I'm going on a date, I was locked in on my Pokemon, thinking about how I can defeat the 5 gym leaders and also get a Sylveon. Because there's no point in playing a Pokemon game and not getting like all of the EV evolutions, particularly a Sylveon, because that is the best and most powerful fairy type Pokemon and the best evolution. And so I've clocked like actually, in general, there are a lot of key canon events I'm missing out, and this kind of concerns me. Does not concern me into action, but does concern me because if I get to a point where I actually decide or like somebody enough and that person likes me back enough to pursue a romantic relationship, am I fucking screwed? Like, have I done myself a disservice by just like avoiding any romantic kind of attraction or emotion in general? This is so bad. This is so. Do you see? Anyway, I'm just gonna wrap this up here because this is supposed to be a mini episode and we're hitting 30-minute mark. But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe wherever you're listening, and make sure you tune in next week for the next episode of Female Genius. Next week we have a guest on. I'm so, so excited because I think it kind of links to my existential crisis a little bit, but I'm gonna be talking with an authenticity expert. Yeah, yeah. She's a genius and I love her so much. So I'm super duper excited and I will see you guys next time on the Female Genius podcast. Bye.
Female genius.